MJ, and in today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to make this gorgeous chunky throw blanket with these large chunky tassels. This is a really simple beginner friendly pattern. It's worked in half double crochets in the front loop only, and working in the front loop just gives us this beautiful design. As you can see here, it's reversible on both sides. It's nice and chunky and soft. You can check the links in the description box to find the blog post that will show you the free pattern plus links to the yarn. I do have limited quantities of chill available in my shop if you're interested in purchasing from me, but if not, you'll also find the links for some alternative yarns. I'll be using a 15mm crochet hook to make this blanket, so it's going to work up really quick. This is a hook nook hook, and you can purchase them from We Crochet. This is now probably my favorite brand for large hooks. I really love the long shaft that they have on them, and it's just an amazing hook to work with. I have also here a 12mm, and you can see how long they are. So these are great hooks if you're working on any bulky projects, and I'll have the links in the description box for them as well. So the size of the blanket that I've made is 40 inches wide by 50 inches long. So our stitches are our length and our rows are the width. We work this from the side across. So for this tutorial, I'm showing you how to make it 40 by 50, but if you want to alter the size of your blanket, you'll work more stitches for your length and just more rows for your width. The gauge for this pattern is 6 stitches in 4 inches and 3 rows in 4 inches. To give us a nice clean edge at the start of the blanket, we're going to work foundation half double crochets. Now, if you struggle to get a hang of the foundation half double crochet, you can always chain out 71 and then work, or sorry, 72 and then work half double crochets back across. But if you can do this, it's going to give you a nice clean edge. So we're going to begin with a slip knot and put that on your hook, tighten it up. We're going to chain out 3. Now we're going to work back. Let's flip our work so you can kind of see this loop plus this little loop down here. So we're going to yarn over, and that's what we're going to go through. We're going to pull through a loop. Now we're going to yarn over, pull through 1, and that is our chain. Yarn over and pull through all 3. There's our half double crochet. I've put my finger down on this chain because that's where we're going to be working into. So let's yarn over again. And here was that first chain I made. Excuse me. And now we're going to go through those 2 loops. And just putting your finger there makes you aware of where you need to go back down and through. So we're going to pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1 again for the foundation chain. You can put your finger there just so you know that's where we're going back again. Yarn over, pull through all 3. Okay, so here's my finger. There's those 2 loops. So yarn over, go down through, under those 2 loops, pulling up a loop, pull it through. So now you've got 3 on the hook. Yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 3. And as you get going, you're going to see your nice stitch, those nice V's going along the bottom. So yarn over, go through, pulling up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1 for the foundation chain, yarn over, and then pull through 3 for the half double crochet. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to work out the entire blanket so I can work through this quicker with you. But if you're making your blanket, 70 of these foundation half double crochets. Okay, so I've worked up 10. It's nice and stretchy, nice edge, starting edge we have. If you're struggling, just go back, re-watch until you can get the hang of it. And like I said, if you're really struggling, chain out 72 and then just work half double crochets back across the chain. So working in the third chain from the hook. So now if you've got this down and you have your blanket worked out, I'm just going to show you how you can count your stitches. So let's look here at the top of the stitch. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It looks like I did 11 instead of 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And that's how you can count them going back across. This is just a demonstration, so it doesn't matter how many I make. So now what we're going to do is chain 2. Okay, and then we're turning to work back along our row. So here now is the top of the stitch. A half double crochet has an extra loop underneath. See it down here. So there's the stitch, there's the loop. This will sometimes fool you and you think, oh, this is the stitch, but it's not. You want to turn your work back this way. This is the top of the stitch. This is that third loop. So when I'm working this blanket, sometimes you're going to think I'm working in the back loop, but I'm really not. I'm working in the front loop, which is the loop you're going to kind of find in the middle of the 3 loops there. So we're going to yarn over. We're going to go through the front loop only. So here's the back loop, here's the front loop. Yarn over, turn and find, make sure you're finding the stitch, not this one here. Yarn over. Again, this is the front loop, that's the third loop, that's the back loop. And we're going through the front loop throughout this blanket pattern. So half double crochets, yarn over, go through the front loop only, pulling up a loop, yarn over, pulling through all 3. Like I say, we're always turning to look at our work this way to make sure we're grabbing that right loop. So now what this third loop does is it pops out and gives this really cool ridging look across the blanket. So I'm going to continue that and I'll meet you up at the end. I've worked to the end, and what you want to do is again count your stitches to make sure that you've done it correctly. So let's look back. Let me just remove my hook for a second. Let's look back at the top of the stitches and we can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so now at the end of every row, we're going to chain 2 and turn. We're not including our chain 2 as a stitch, okay? So we're working right into the first stitch because we're not counting this. If we were counting this as a stitch, to keep 11 stitches, we'd have to skip over and then we'd have to be working into turning chains. But for this pattern, we're not going to include that as a stitch. We're always working into the first. So this is just now a repeat of what we did. So again, you got to turn your work, make sure you're getting the front loop of the stitch. Yarn over, go through. So this is how simple this blanket is to make. This is all you're going to do now throughout the blanket. Half double crochets in the front loop. Another way to look at the piece to make sure you're going through that right stitch is you should be getting this left right here to give that nice little rope-like effect. and not working through the back loop, you're getting it on the other side. So it really leaves a cool detail on your blanket. Chain 2 and turn, and we just keep going, always turning your work this way to see the top of those stitches. And I think using this big hook and yarn, it really makes these stitches all distinguished so you can really see them and see where to work. And this is a really great stitch pattern. I love using it for a variety of projects, but it makes a really cozy throw blanket. So now what I want you to do is just continue working your rows, and to get your blanket that it's 40 inches wide, I'm working 32 rows. So that is going to use up 10 balls of the Sugar Bush Chill. If you're using a Tough Puff, then you're going to need about 12 balls. So also, if your gauge or tension is off, you may vary with that. So try and meet the pattern gauge of our 6 stitches and 3 rows in 4 inches. And also, if you've purchased that you have the 10 balls, just work what you can with those 10 balls. But make sure that your starting stitches here are the correct length. So you're going to have 50 inches in length. If you end up with more than that, then that means you're going to end up using more yarn. If you have less than that, if you're, let's say, only 45 inches rather than 50, you're going to end up using less yarn. You're going to be able to make a wider blanket. But if you're right bang on with the 50 inches with 70 stitches, you should be able to get 32 rows with 10 balls of yarn, or 520 yards. So I'm finishing up my blanket here, my 32nd row. Okay, and this is the yarn that I have left off that 10th ball of yarn. So you can fasten off. And again, if you haven't been able to get 32 rows, that's okay. Just use up what you can to stay within your 10 balls, or you'll need to purchase some more if you want to make a bigger throw blanket. So now you're going to need a yarn needle that has a really big head on it for bulky yarn. We're going to weave this end in. This just makes it easy to get that yarn through when you have a big yarn needle. Now the blanket is reversible, so we don't really have a right side or a wrong side. What you just want to do is make sure you go through the sort of the thickest part of the stitch where you can hide your yarn tails. Always the important thing to remember when weaving is that you need to go back in the opposite direction. So you can weave as much as you want, hiding that yarn. You want to make sure you go back, because that's what's going to secure it. Because this yarn's so thick, I chose to go down to another row to bring it back. And you don't want to distort the blanket when you pull it. You want to make sure you pull back so that your stitches, especially with a blanket like this, that you don't distort it. And then once you're happy, you can just trim that. And you'll need to weave that starting tail as well. From one ball of Sugar Bush Yarns Chill, you can make 4 of these large tassels. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make these gorgeous tassels. So what I want you to do is take one ball and cut the entire thing up into pieces 18 to 20 inches long. Take your pieces and separate them into 4 piles, even piles. Then for every tassel, you're going to need 2 additional pieces, so just separate 2 pieces out and set them aside. And grab your pile in the center and take this Go around once, go around twice. Then pull all of your tassel pieces down. Using my hand steamer to steam out all of my pieces so that they're nice and flat. So you're going to take your other piece of yarn to make the ball. So just lay it underneath. Make sure you're satisfied with the size of the ball. So you want them all to be about the same size. Then you can just knot that. I'm going to allow one strand just to fall down. I'll take my other strand and just wrap it around just to cover up any bits there. Take my yarn needle for bulky yarn. And we want to push that down inside the tassel just to hide it. And if you wanted to wrap it around more, just make sure those extra pieces are longer than the rest. Mine were all the same size, so I just can go around a little bit. Now what we want to do is trim up the ends. To clean them up. And then just make sure all of your tassels are about the same. So now for attaching your tassels, you have some options. You could do corners, you could do one in this corner, one in the other corner, and at the other end. Or you can have them all at one end of the blanket. Oh, and I'm so torn about which way I want to do mine. I think I'm going to show you with them all at the end so you can see how to space them out. So what you want to do, I may change my mind later for modeling them. I might show you with both, but for now, let's do this. So take your yarn needle. We're going to do one in the corner. And so what you would do is give it a nice little knot. And then you can just weave the yarn, take the yarn and weave it down through the ball. So you would take your yarn needle, go down through the ball, and then that just hides that. Okay, so then what I'm going to do to space them out, skipping the first row, I'm going to count 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's just make sure that this works out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then we'll put 1 in the end as well. So that works out pretty close. So I'll tie those all and I'll weave my ends so you can see how that looks. So now if you have any ends popping through, once you weave those down, just give them a trim. And it's really easy to pull these back off if you need to for any reason. But for this blanket, I recommend hand washing it only. Do not put in the washer dryer, or it's going to fuse all of the fibers together and give it more of a rope look. If you do that, that's fine, but it's definitely going to give you a much different look. It's not going to be this soft, fluffy yarn look that I show you here, that it looks like here is the same. It's a hand wash, lay flat to dry blanket. So if you really love this look, but you're wanting something that's washable, I would go with an acrylic yarn. Do not use wool if that's what you're wanting. But if you're just wanting a luxurious piece that you are just going to be throwing over you, that you don't figure is going to get dirty, or that's just looking nice for display, then the merino's really nice. But if it's for a child or something that's going to get soiled, you definitely want to go with an acrylic or polyester washable style yarn.